because actually when I start recording online, I never know if it's going to actually save because they have so much power. You just never know. Anyways, wanted to come back and just talk about. I had a conversation with someone, met with someone the other day, and they said, how do we build capacity in our community to oversee the public school system? How does that happen? What does that look like? Especially because, it's not a place where African Americans are or have ever been. Or I should take that back. And actually, when we were forced in integration, when integration actually happened, it was forced. And so Black people did get into the public school. And we were a part of public education during, when they had I want to say, Chapter 1. Chapter 1 brought a lot of resources to the schools because that's when the money first got in. The money first came into play and was actually allocated for the services for African Americans. They needed additional money to get in there. Well, they got in there. And there were so many resources, and all community people were participating. It's just unfortunate when I say that what was going on in those times, that, law enforcement had to be utilized to push African Americans into the public school system. It's just real. And so this camera is, I want to say resume for Facebook, but I don't even know how that works. I think I have to share the screen with Facebook and go live. That's what I have to do. I can go live with Facebook too. I'm doing this here. I'm gonna go to one of these rooms, this one. And then I can just go live here. More live. Now we're live on Facebook also. So I'm live on Facebook, going to be live on Facebook and live on my camera. Now, how do we go about creating an atmosphere where we're building capacity for the public school system? Because, hey, Sonia, do you know how to use this Zoom program? Because, hey, Rodney's in Las Vegas, and Sonia's in Sacramento, and great advocates, both of you. And I would say that, there's so much work to be done. We don't have time to sit back and not get this work done. Especially since it's critical mass time, because all of the money is going into one pot. President Trump signed the bill. And so Title I money, and the money for neglected and delinquent, the money for gifted and gave, all of the public money is going to go into one pot, and that's called the general fund. And when you get the general fund money, if you don't have the number of people who are participating on the school site, then you don't have an opportunity to even understand who they're providing services for. And so because you were a teacher at Kennedy High School, you understand the level of involvement that staff actually has working with creating an atmosphere for all kids to be successful. And Kennedy just had a problem. I know they had a problem because simply, my children were there. And as long as my sons were there, I was there. But my last son, he didn't graduate from Kennedy. He went to science and engineering, but he had a 1-on-1 aide. And that was supportive for him. He graduated above proficient, and he graduated with a laptop walking out the door. And so when I took him over there to City College, he was assessed and he was above proficient. But they act as if special education is a burden to the system, and it really is. If no one has done the work until high school, then special ed doesn't work, because there's no reason, no purpose for it to be there, because it's not aiding in anything. What actually happens if you get identified and you don't have any goals written and no one's measuring the progress for support for you when you're in special ed, what happens is that they just promote you. And social promotion is a real thing that's happening in California for so many African American children. This the other day I was in this, and I think you can invite friends, but I don't know how to make it to share the screen in here. Otherwise, I would love to do a conversation with you, Sonia. Anyways, It is so critical right now. And we're not building capacity to participate in the local control efforts of public education right now. With the teachers demanding that they have more control over basically where they work, because it's not about, because it is about who they work with. I mean, I really don't know what you do with a student who comes to your class and they can't read at grade level. It's real. But I was working with children who were not at grade level when they entered into the ninth grade, and there was just nothing for them because there is nothing, because the pathway hasn't been established. Sac City claims that they do a push-in model, meaning that all of the services actually happen in the classroom, but the teachers really don't have time to assess the student to determine what they need to have access to and to actually create that access. It just doesn't have time, because there's not that much time in 55 minutes. And so here we are, and we are, let me think, 55 years into Brown versus the Board of Education. And what happened? Hey, Brenda. Yeah, but we, as a people, need to have a way to build momentum, to have the conversation about failed public services, because we all pay taxes. We all know that, it was a tragic event that happened with COVID, and no one was expecting it. But we also know that he had absolutely just babies, and that the support that he's going to need, or that would have been provided through him as a parent, because he was an educated person. He was an entertainer, but he had made his livelihood through entertainment, and he understood the game. And, we have so many people that actually pay those kind of taxes that we can't even imagine making that kind of money in a year. They're paying taxes for the amount of money that we actually make in a year. Even if you're working, you're not making the kind of money that a Kobe Bryant was making, or that, we have so many Black professional people. And our Black professionals do pay taxes. Look at Wesley Snipes. Didn't he go to jail because failure to pay taxes? Well, let's talk about how those tax dollars come back into our local community and how they're actually supposed to be providing support. What does that support look like when you can't measure the maintenance of effort on the whole for all the Black people in America? Because it's a federal mandate that public education happen. It's compulsory laws, is what it is. Compulsory in a manner in which we do have to understand exactly just how that actually works. So here we are, living in America and understanding the burden that has been placed on us as a people, and our inability to advocate for the failed services. That's what we're in a worse condition than we were back, in the 60s. We have no condition because we have no ability to have a real conversation about what's going to happen with all those third graders who are not reading at grade level. Because we all know that they do start planning to build out prisons based on the number of kids who are not reading in the third grade. But under the understanding of how things really operate, we need to have a better way of communicating with each other, and a better way to address this issue. What we do know is we know that we have people that have been very successful in life, and we know that they pay taxes. We know that we have people who don't have time, who just don't have time. They have to work and to make sure that the food is on the table and that the kids are ready to go to bed. And I used to tell my sister that all the time. I'm working every day. I don't have time to do what the school is supposed to do. But the school is not supposed to do anything. It is an establishment that is providing services based on a modified behavior structure in America. And they're only required to modify your behavior. And it's whatever the parent accepts. So if the parent accepted failure, well, then that's what you got. You got an F. And you do get an F. And there are so many kids that get letter grades of F. And we have to have a way to address this issue, because if you don't know a kid that's failing, know that they're out there, they exist. Because when you look at the data demonstrates it. And, people don't even understand when I start talking about the data, and I start telling you that only 3% of the kids over there at this school, and 2% of the kids over there at this school, And, how is it that only such a low number of the kids, the percentage of African American kids, are actually accessing the general curriculum? They're not. What does that mean? What does that look like? It looks like the letter grade of F. That's what it looks like. How do we address these issues? Well, we address these issues by all getting in the room and starting to have a conversation. We don't need them to have a conversation, but for whatever unfortunate reason, when we get in the room, we tend to want to talk at people, and we tend to not want to listen to the community. And, everybody is standing in the front of the room, and they're all chiefs and no Indians. The Indians are the ones who have to suffer with the consequence of whatever decision that has been made to apply towards, the population, basically, the way I see it. And we do have nonprofits and third-party providers in the public school system who are not held to accountability for anything. So we have all these nonprofits here, I noticed in Las Vegas. A lot of nonprofit organizations that do work that enables you to access your civic and civil rights. But then you can't, because whatever they're doing is not helping you. And they have so many people that are involved in doing services. I mean, if a foot massage was something that was approved by your county office of education and it was supposed to be helping kids, then guess what? And you could get a contract with a local district to do the foot massage. I guarantee you could get paid. That's kind of like how it works. It works that way. You have to have an approval for a contract and have a contract to come in and provide those services. I really, it's a troubling thing to understand that no matter what organization you participate with, that it's an inability to bring about change. What we have to talk about is our personal responsibility. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you're an American. And as an American citizen, it's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to understand that you have a voice in the oversight process of the public services in your local community. And that's just the bottom line. There's a bottom line to all this. And so I'm going to come on, I guess, 2 or 3 times whenever I get the stamina to push myself to get out here and have the conversation about what I know that we're dealing with. What I know that we're dealing with is this total dysfunction. We're living in a nation where the president is saying that, hey, you might have separation of powers, but you can't tell me what to do. I do what I do, because I do what I do, because I know I can. And when he chose not to turn in those taxes, that was the beginning of his willful defiance. Now, see, that's what willful defiance looks like. It doesn't look like our kids not being able to read the sentence and making noise and getting sent out of the classroom. But every time our children get sent out of the classroom, they miss a lesson for the day. And pretty soon they're so far behind that they can't get caught up. And they've created processes in which, children never really reach the minimum required for their grade level. Minimal requirements for their grade level to move forward in life. And if you can't read and write, guess what? You are not going to have the ability to get your little high school diploma. But see, in California, they solved that. They said that they're going to give people a certificate of completion. Now, just because you get that little certificate of completion, don't think it's going to enable you to go to the university, because you ain't going to the university. When you go to the university, however, they're going to give you an assessment. And based on that assessment, we're going to talk about your responsibility for remedial work. So until you can actually join in and actually complete your homework every day and complete your tasks every day, it's just not going to happen for you. And that's just kind of like how it works. So we need to have other people log in, join in the conversation. We need to engage our people as many as we can and try to change the narrative for the day, which is to talk about the failed public services in America, across this nation, for African Americans. Because why is it that only African Americans have to comply with a reasonable stop, whatever? But if you don't comply, it could end your life. Why? How is it that, the fear of just the black skin can cause you to lose your life simply because somebody didn't understand where you would be coming from if they approached you? They just have a natural fear of black people. And they should, basically, because we've been abused so much. I mean, the entitlement for abuse is just real. It's rampant. But in understanding that we all gotta work to get along to go along. I'm working to get along to go along. So I'm encouraging that we start paying attention. And if you can't actually go to board meetings, look at you know, your state website, follow along, because most of these public meetings are online and are broadcasted. Public school meetings are online and are broadcasted. However, they use this thing that they can't provide here, what the translation, for hearing impaired, and so therefore they don't save the they don't save the they don't save the videos. I mean, I guess you could get a copy of a video, but you have to request it. And so if you didn't make the meeting, then you just don't know what the hell went on. And that's kind of like how it works here. But it doesn't really matter as long as you know that we're living in a day where you can be empowered and you don't have to actually go somewhere. You can just look up all the information you want to know online, and then you do have a responsibility to question the failed services that are, and why are the services failing for people who look like you, especially if it's so rampant that they feel that they can put out a 259% suspension expulsion rate and then have the community not question that. And the community didn't question it. So I started questioning it. Because I live now in Clark County, Las Vegas. And it's going to be my station for life, basically. But my education along the way has enabled me to question the process. And that's what I'll be doing. So, y'all, I'm coming back because I've got nothing to do except for clean up and then come back and then clean up and then, take that little break inside to do something different. But absolutely, have any questions you want to ask them. I know all about Speakside Councils, considering that I chaired the District Advisory Committee for Title I and Compensatory Education Services. I had 3 children that were gifted, non-specific, and I guess you could say, considered mentally retarded or in the other category, but it doesn't really matter. All my children graduated with high school diplomas, not certificates of completion. And I think that if you want to know and you're struggling in trying to understand how to access resources, then you need to ask the questions, because if I don't know the answer, I'm sure I can find someone who does know the answer. So I'm going to end this video for now. Come back and check. Inbox me if you have any questions. I'll be around. Y'all, have a great day. I didn't get anybody over here into this meeting, but I don't know. I can invite people through email. And I can pause the Zoom. Anyways, I don't think you can do control the control. Yeah, it doesn't work here. Can't copy and paste in the room with Zoom, but you can copy and paste with Facebook, and I can send the invitation out. And then if we ever get anybody in Zoom, and then of course, hey, it's all good. It really doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. I am not in charge of anything. I just happen to realize that there were not a whole lot of people who looked like me in the process of participating in school activities. And even when I'll say, one of our children are participating in activities, it's just really the parents that show up of the children who are participating. And I haven't seen what it looks like at an all-black school, because I haven't seen an all-black school in a long time. So I don't know what that looks like. But I do know that Margaret Fortune is having a lot of success in Sacramento. And her whole charge was to educate African American children. But know that just because she was able to get public schools and start working with children at a younger age, that she's making a difference. But the difference that we have to help support and sustain her with is the insurance that targeted support for our children is going to continue to happen, especially when all the money is being dropped in one pot. And we need to concern ourselves with the bill that Trump just passed. He just passed a bill, he just signed some kind of education bill. Go to the ed.gov. Go and read on your own. Because things are changing. So here in Nevada, of course, they're looking at the weighted student formula. But the way they weight the student formula is like the bulk of the money comes in under the category of everybody. And then if you're entitled to a little special ed or whatever, that's out of a different kind of money. I was trying to figure out, how do they see it all? Because quite frankly, they really don't. They don't account for what they need to do. They just, there's so much money in public services and public education. There's a lot of money. I remember one time when I was, participating in the district advisory committee. And when I was participating, they were making some changes at one school, and I went to the school, and every one of those schools had a portable bathroom inside the portable, and all the portables had AC units. And each one, you got to think about, every time they put together a building, that there are contracts that go out from the local district. And that's why we need governing boards, because we're not talking about a little bit of money. My goodness, we're talking about lots of money. And we're talking about how sustainability happens for local communities. Because if they have children, then children are the harvest. And so that's why they're promoting, right to life. They don't care if you actually live, but that's what they don't care about. But they do care. They do care that you actually are having children to maintain the system. And that's real. So that's where we live. We live under a system that demands that it's mandated participation. And so, I don't know, I send these invites out, maybe we'll get somebody to pay attention, maybe we won't, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that we're recording, and the record is for life. That's what the record is for, life. And it'll be up here on the internet forever. And that's what we need to understand. So at least I can say I attempted to document my concerns for the failed services of public education, because that's the way I see them. I see them as failed services, because they are failed services. Anyone has the ability to go online and to check the data for your local school district, because local school districts are operated under the states, and the states have all the states have departments of education. I'm sorry, lost my plug there. But all the states have departments of education, and then they have local, they have county, they have local, and they have county boards of supervisors, they have city, councils. We all operate under local control. So, but what does local control look like when so many children who look like you, Black people, are getting letter grades of F? And where is the conversation about the failed public services? Should we just continue to turn away and pretend that is not happening? We live in some issues, some real ish. I'm trying to understand. What should we expect here? How should we expect this to go? Because simply, we're far too far down the road here. We're far too down the road to say that we cannot affect change, because we can affect change. But you have to stand up. Everybody has a voice. God gave you a journey. We're on this journey. And the journey is that you must convince yourself to participate. What do you have to offer? I wonder. What is your expertise? It doesn't really matter. Your expertise comes to you because you are blessed because what? Because you live today. And that's just real. So we're still living, and it's 2020. Amazing. Because I remember that year, in the year 2525, if I'm still alive, I remember that song. But in the year 2020, I never thought about living until I was 2020 when I was, 6 or 7. We don't think about those things, but I do think about those things now because I may have a grandchild. And I would like for that grandchild to be able to be creative enough to be able to be financially independent and to be able to work in America, to be able to make a difference for people who perhaps are less fortunate. It doesn't matter about the color. It matters about that we are all Americans. And we are all Americans. And I cannot say that I have a different standard than myself for someone else. I have the same expectation. So, what I don't see, and what I really don't see, is the inability to affect change. And that's where I am, an impasse. I just ran into a barrier because people will tell you, well, if you're concerned, why don't you go to the board meeting? Well, I did go to the board meeting. The board should have known that as a person, I filed a complaint in which I said that I didn't have the ability to look at the district's website and to understand what was going on in those local schools for children who looked like me, who were perhaps in schools or environments that were failing them. Because those people at that school site, of course, they all get paid. Now, let's not pretend that there's a lack of money in education. There's definitely enough money. I'm going to have to answer this phone. I'm going to step away for a second. Hello? They hung up. Of course they hung up. Of course. Let's try one more time here. Hello? No, we ain't selling our house. If you thought about selling your house, you can just buy one over here. Because we live in a senior citizen home. I mean, smaller, whatever. Anyways, where was I going with this? I was going with the inability to build capacity amongst people who look like me. And perhaps why people don't want to, I don't know. Why people don't see that they have a personal responsibility to participate in the public process, because that's what we're talking about, what the public process actually looks like. The public process is that whatever there are humans living under the human condition, that there are rules that are abided by, and that there's some level of accountability. And then when you make the rules and you say that all children must attend school, that all children must benefit too from the public schools. And then after 12 years of actually receiving public services, that somehow you're supposed to be able to go out and get a job. Well, America's just so corrupt now. The corruption is rampant. And I can attest to what I feel is rampant corruption. Rampant corruption is that when a local district will make a deal with your special education division that if whatever happens with a student and they're arrested for a willful defiance issue, that they could be kicked out of public school and put on the roll sheets for the county program or something. Just, working with the student, and somehow he got in an argument supposedly with the student or someone had a misunderstanding. But, when children are both when two kids are miscommunicating, basically, I don't know what happened. But I do know that there was a difference of opinion about someone borrowing a piece of property like this. And then they returned it. But then someone now feels that they were intimidated. So now this child is facing felony charges. Felony charges of, what do you call this? Intimidation and strong arm robbery because of the forced supposedly borrowing of the phone, but even though the person did get the phone back, of course, really nothing. But the mere fact that the parent never was really notified was unnerving to me. And there are a lot of things that are unnerving to me. Simply that there are so far too many children who are not benefiting. It doesn't matter the color. Right now, it just matters that if you're in a place where they're doing good work, or you're in a place where children are miserably failing, because it has to do with your placement. So it has to do with your status. It has to do with separate and unequal. That's what it has to do with. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm going to come back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and just talk until about, I got to go. I have an appointment. But I will be back. I have to end this video. And I have to pause this. Pause the video. Maybe make it big or whatever so I can get to it. Okay, I've got to end the meet. Well, I'm going to pause it because I'll have to be gone.